Welcome back, and in this lesson we will be looking at explanation writing. The best time to start explanation writing is after you've learned procedure. If it's been a while, go back and watch the video series for a refresher. By the end of this lesson, we want to understand the purpose of explanation writing, identify the structures and language of the genre, and spot some other features in our examples. Let's look at our first example, how honey is made. Getting nectar. The bee sucks nectar with its mouth, which is shaped like a tube. Bees fly hundreds of times between flowers and their honeycombs. Making honey. In the country, some bees make their nests in places like the trunk of a tree. Bees make honeycombs with wax from their own bodies. The gaps in the honeycomb are where the honey is stored. Beehives. In gardens or farms, beekeepers keep bees in beehives like this one, so they can collect honey. About 50,000 bees live in one beehive. The beekeeper. The beekeeper collects the honey from the beehive. He takes out the honeycomb, which is full of honey. He is dressed in special clothes so that he doesn't get stung. Honey is used in lots of different recipes. It is delicious when it is spread onto bread. We write explanations to explain how something happens, with the stages in the right order. Explanation is very important for learning and writing about the world. Nature documentaries show us how animals live, hunt, and build their homes. We often read and write examples in school about nature cycles, like the life cycle of a butterfly, or how a seed becomes a plant, or the water cycle in geography. We use explanations to show how something is made or done. The TV series Inside the Factory is an excellent example. Explanations must put the stages in order, which sounds a lot like procedure, but there is a massive difference. In procedure, the writer is telling someone how to do something. The reader can do the steps. In explanation, though, the writer tells you how something happens. I can't tell you how to change from a tadpole into a frog. I can only tell you how it happens to the tadpole. Now let's have a closer look at an example. How is food digested? The food we eat is broken down and used by our bodies. This breaking down of food is called digestion. When you chew your food, digestion begins. The food is pushed by the tongue to the trap door at the back of the mouth called the esophagus. It then moves to the stomach where the digestive juices make it smaller. In the small intestine, the goodness is soaked up. Finally, water is taken out in the large intestines. The goodness that is left can now be carried around the body by the blood to be used for energy, repair, and growth. Explanations have a how title. It could be a question, like in this example, or it could be how food is digested. Some explanations have a special name, like the water cycle or the life cycle of a butterfly. The first paragraph is the definition. The writer briefly says exactly what the topic is. 1 or 2 sentences is plenty here because the detail comes later. After that, we have the stages in order. Each stage gets a new paragraph. They often have a title for each paragraph to tell us what the stage is named. The writer can use their final paragraph to tell us how this process is useful or some interesting facts about the topic. Now, stop. Grammar time. Go with the flow. It is said if you can't rule the list, then you're probably... Okay, that was a bad joke. But you should take a movement break now, because the second half of this video will have a closer look at the grammar used in explanation writing. First of all, is this written in the past, present, or future tense? It's written in the present. In this series of lessons, we will focus on explaining things in the present tense. If you wanted to explain how something was done in the past, like how the Roman soldiers fought, you would have to switch to the past tense. But we're going to keep it simple and just write about things that happen now. Now pause the video and look for every example of where 2 verbs come together in a sentence. Why do you think they are written like this? There is a very good reason. Have you ever heard a conversation like this? What happened, Mikey? Well, teacher, the window was broken. Oh, how was it broken? A football was kicked through it? He's saying what happened without saying who did it. This is called the passive voice. Most of the time, we use the active voice. Like in this sentence, he paints posters. The verb paints is the action word. He is what we call the subject, because this is the one who does the action. Posters is the object, the one the action is performed on. Ruth trains dragons is an active sentence. It puts the subject, who is named Ruth, at the start of the sentence. To write in the passive voice, we put the object, dragons, at the start of the sentence and say, dragons are trained. We can leave out the subject. We also use the passive voice to put the focus onto the object. Take the sentence, a mosquito bit Paul. A mosquito is the subject and Paul is the object. It makes sense, but if Paul is the main character in our story, we want to put the emphasis on him. We would say, Paul was bitten by a mosquito. The main character in an explanation is often not performing any actions. Look at our example. We see sentences like, the food is pushed by the tongue, because the focus is what happens to the food at every stage, not always on the different body parts that do each action. We don't have to write the whole explanation in the passive voice, but it can make some things very clear. So how do we change an active sentence into a passive one? The boy kicks the ball. First we identify the verb, kicks. Then we ask, who does the action? The boy, so that's the subject. And then the object is the ball. Then we write the object at the start of the sentence. We write the verb with is or are in front of it. The ball is. You change the verb to its past tense form, kicked. The ball is kicked. If you like, you can put the subject at the end. The ball is kicked by the boy. This is fairly easy with a little practice, and I've left a link in the description for you to have a go at some examples. As a total aside, this is way easier in Irish. Change the ending of the word and you're done. Dúnam an doras, I close the door. Dúntar an doras, the door is closed. So what are we looking for in our explanations? We want a how title, but not how to. We need to start with a short definition. The stages must be written in order. We write in the present tense and use some passive verbs if we can. Lastly, a diagram can be very helpful. If you see a diagram with arrows, it's probably an explanation. Well done, you made it to the end. This was a long video with more grammar than usual. Time to switch off and take a break. In the next video, we will be writing an example of an explanation. Má sibh gach duine agus slán go fóill.